Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here. Today, we'll be exploring an important topic, political parties and political science. In this session, we'll look at how political parties function, their role in democracy, and the basics of political science that help us understand these dynamics. So, let's get started and dive into the fascinating world of politics. Let's take a closer look at the different types of party systems and why they matter. First, we have the one-party system, where a single political party dominates the political landscape, often seen in authoritarian regimes. Moving on, the two-party system is quite common in many democracies. Here, two major parties compete for power, providing voters with clear choices. Then, we have the multi-party system, which features several parties vying for influence, often leading to coalition governments and diverse representation. Understanding these systems helps us grasp how political power is organized and exercised in different countries. Each system has its strengths and challenges, impacting governance and stability. For example, a multi-party system can offer broader representation, but might also lead to complex coalition negotiations. Recognizing these differences is essential as we explore how political parties function, their roles, and the challenges they face. This understanding will deepen our appreciation of the political landscape and its influence on society. Let's take a closer look at the different groups within a political party. First, we have the followers. These are the people who support the party and its ideas. Then, we have the active members. These individuals are more involved, they participate in party activities and help organize efforts. Lastly, we have the leaders. These are the people who guide the party, make strategic decisions, and represent the party publicly. Now, it's important to understand that parties reflect the fundamental political divisions within society. They are about a part of society, which is why they involve partisanship. A party stands for certain interests, policies, and values that resonate with a particular segment of the population. When we talk about what a political party is, it's basically a group of people coming together with a common goal, to contest elections and hold power in the government. They agree on specific policies and programs aimed at promoting the collective good of society. So, in essence, political parties are organized groups that try to represent different parts of society, and their main purpose is to influence government policies and decisions based on the interests they stand for. Today, we are talking about the type of democracy practiced all over the world, which is called representative democracy. In this system, instead of every citizen directly making decisions, governance is carried out through people's representatives. This approach is necessary because it's simply impossible for each individual to participate in every decision directly. Now, this need for representatives has led to the emergence of political parties. Think of political parties as a way to bring together diverse groups of people who share similar ideas or goals. Without political parties, each candidate would run independently, and that could create a lot of problems. Imagine the current strength of the Lok Sabha, which has 543 members. If none of these members could agree on a particular issue, we would face chaos, complete disorder. Independent candidates tend to focus more on the specific needs of their own constituencies, which is important, but they might not always consider the larger national interest. This is where political parties become crucial. They serve as a platform that unites different people with common ideas, allowing them to work together. By doing so, they help address bigger issues that affect the entire nation, rather than just individual local interests. So, in essence, political parties are vital for maintaining harmony and effective governance in our democracy. Let's take a closer look at the functions of a political party. First, one of the main roles is to nominate candidates for public office. This means they select individuals who will represent their ideas and policies in elections. It's a way of organizing support and presenting a clear choice to voters. Next, political parties educate the public and mobilize voters. They help inform people about issues, policies, and the candidates, encouraging participation in the democratic process. Another key function is to unify diverse groups within society. Parties bring together people with similar interests and beliefs, helping to create a cohesive platform. They also act as a link between the government and the people, communicating the needs and concerns of citizens to policymakers. Finally, parties are essential for organizing government, providing structure and stability once elected, so that the government can function efficiently and effectively. All of these functions tie back to the overall theme of how political parties help organize, communicate, and stabilize democratic systems, ensuring that governance reflects the will of the people. Now, let's talk about how elections work in our democratic system. Political parties play a crucial role here. They contest elections by putting forward their candidates to represent them. Essentially, each party selects a candidate they believe will best serve the people's interests in a specific area. These candidates then compete in various constituencies across the country. So, when we say a party nominates its candidate, it means they are choosing someone to contest in that particular area. This process allows voters to choose between different candidates and parties, helping shape the leadership and direction of the government. It's a vital part of how our democracy functions, ensuring that different ideas and visions are represented in the electoral process. Political parties play a crucial role in a democracy by putting forward different policies and programs. This allows voters to choose from a variety of options that reflect their interests and needs. When a political party comes together, it brings a large number of similar opinions and ideas under one umbrella, which helps in organizing their approach. These opinions are then channeled and refined to form clear policies and programs. It's important to remember that the policies and programs of the ruling party are expected to guide the actions and decisions of the government. Essentially, these policies shape how the government functions and what priorities it sets for the country. This process ensures that different voices are considered and that the government's direction aligns with the promises made during the election campaign. Political parties play a very important role in making laws for our country. You might already know that it is the legislature, the group of people who are elected to represent us, that actually passes laws. But what's interesting is that most of these members belong to different political parties. So, when it comes to making laws, a political party has a direct say in the process. Essentially, the parties influence what laws are proposed, debated, and ultimately passed. This is a crucial part of how our democracy works, because it shows how political parties shape the laws that affect our daily lives. So, understanding the role of political parties helps us see the bigger picture of how laws are made and how our government functions. Now, let's look at how governments are formed and operate. Political parties play a crucial role here. They come together to form a government and take on the responsibility of running the country. The executive body, which is essentially the leadership of the government, is made up of people who belong to the ruling party or coalition. These leaders are assigned specific roles, known as ministries, to handle different areas like health, education, defense, and more. Each minister is responsible for implementing policies and making decisions within their designated department. This structure ensures that governance is organized and that various aspects of the country's administration are managed effectively. Connecting this to the overall theme, it highlights how political parties and their leaders work collaboratively to govern and serve the nation. So, when a party doesn't manage to secure a majority or isn't part of a majority coalition, they naturally take on the role of opposition. Playing opposition is a crucial part of our political system because it helps ensure checks and balances. It's about holding the government accountable, scrutinizing policies, and offering alternative solutions. This role isn't just about criticism, it's about providing a constructive voice and representing different perspectives. By doing so, opposition parties contribute to a healthy democracy, encouraging transparency and debate. Remember, their role is vital in maintaining a balance of power and making sure the government stays responsive to the citizens' needs. Political parties play a crucial role in shaping public opinion. They do this by actively raising issues that matter to their supporters and highlighting specific topics in the legislature and the media. This strategy helps influence how people think about various policies and candidates. By bringing certain issues to the forefront, parties can sway public perceptions and guide the national conversation. This process is a key part of understanding how democracy functions, as it shows how organized groups influence what the public cares about and ultimately how they vote. So, in the bigger picture, political parties are not just about winning elections. They're also about shaping the ideas and opinions that drive our political landscape. Now, let's look at how parties facilitate access to government machinery and welfare schemes. Essentially, parties serve as a bridge for people to reach these resources more easily. You see, approaching local party leaders is often much simpler than directly dealing with government officers. This creates a kind of shortcut. People feel more comfortable and confident in turning to their local leaders for help. It's a strategic way for parties to connect citizens with government benefits, ensuring that welfare schemes are more accessible at the grassroots level. This also highlights how political parties play a crucial role in the broader landscape of governance and social support, making sure that the benefits reach those who need them most. Now, let's explore the concept of different party systems. When we talk about party systems, we're really looking at how political parties are organized and how they interact within a country's political landscape. There are several key types, each with its own characteristics. For example, a single-party system, where only one party holds power, is quite different from a multi-party system, where multiple parties compete for influence. Then there's the two-party system, which is common in countries like the United States, where two major parties dominate the political scene. Understanding these systems is important because they shape how governments function, how policies are made, and how citizens participate in democracy. Recognizing the differences helps us see the broader picture of political stability, representation, and governance. So, as we connect this to our overall discussion, keep in mind that the structure of a party system influences almost every aspect of political life in a country. In some countries, only one party is allowed to control and run the government. These are called one-party systems. For example, in China, only the Communist Party is allowed to rule. This means that no other political parties can compete for power, and the government is essentially controlled by a single organization. Such systems often aim for stability and uniformity, but they can also limit political freedom and choice for the people. Understanding these systems helps us see the different ways countries organize their governments and the impact that can have on their citizens. In some countries, power is shared primarily between two main parties. This type of political system is known as a two-party system. Essentially, it means that two dominant parties compete for control and influence within the government. The United States and the United Kingdom are classic examples of this kind of system. Understanding how these systems work helps us see the ways in which political power is organized and maintained in different countries, which ties back to our overall theme of government structures and their impact on society. Since a multi-party system tends to offer more choices to the voters, it is often considered better than the other party systems. When we talk about a multi-party system, we're referring to a scenario where several parties compete for power, and more than two of these parties have a real chance of winning. This diversity creates a more dynamic political landscape. In India, for example, we have a multi-party system, which means our voters have a variety of options to choose from, reflecting the diverse interests and communities within the country. This system encourages broader representation and can lead to more coalition building, making our democracy more inclusive. Overall, a multi-party system aligns with the idea of giving power to the people through a wider array of choices, which is a key theme in understanding how different party systems function in democratic nations. Let's take a closer look at the comparison between two-party and multi-party systems. In a two-party system, voters are typically presented with a simple choice. This often makes it easier for people to decide and can lead to more stable governance because one of the two parties usually wins outright. However, the downside is that two-party systems tend to be less flexible. They usually have a more rigid set of opinions on various issues, which can limit responsiveness to changing public needs. On the other hand, multi-party systems provide voters with many choices, reflecting a wider range of opinions and interests. This makes the government more responsive to shifts in public opinion. But this flexibility can sometimes lead to less stability, as coalitions may be more fragile. For example, countries like India have a multi-party system, which helps represent diverse perspectives, while the USA and UK are examples of two-party systems, offering simplicity and stability. Understanding these differences is key as we consider how different political systems shape governance and representation. Now let's look at what defines a national party. Essentially, a party qualifies as a national party if it meets certain criteria across the country. First, it must secure at least 6% of the total votes in either the Lok Sabha elections or in assembly elections across 4 states. This shows a significant level of support nationwide. In addition to the vote share, the party must also win at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha. This ensures that the party isn't just popular in theory, but also has a tangible presence in the parliament. These criteria highlight the importance of both widespread support and actual electoral success. Recognizing a party as a national party is significant because it grants certain privileges and recognition at the national level, which can help in forming governments or influencing policy across the country. So, in summary, a party needs to demonstrate both broad geographical support and electoral strength, making it a true representative at the national level. This classification helps us understand how political influence is measured and recognized across India. Let's talk about what it takes for a party to be recognized as a state party. Essentially, if a party secures at least 6% of the total votes in a state legislative assembly election, that's a significant milestone. But that's not all. The party also needs to win at least 2 seats in the assembly. Meeting these 2 criteria demonstrates that the party has a substantial support base within the state. Recognizing such parties helps us understand the political landscape better, as it shows which parties have a meaningful presence beyond just a few votes. This recognition can influence how parties are treated in terms of election funding, access to certain privileges, and overall political influence within the state. So, in summary, a party becomes a state party by achieving both a minimum percentage of votes and a minimum number of seats, highlighting its importance in the state's political arena. Let's take a look at some of the key challenges that political parties face today. First, one major challenge is maintaining unity within the party. With diverse viewpoints and interests, it can be difficult to keep everyone on the same page. This internal cohesion is crucial because it directly impacts the party's effectiveness and public image. Another challenge is adapting to rapidly changing political landscapes, especially with the influence of social media and instant communication. Parties need to stay relevant and connect with voters in ways that resonate, which requires agility and strategic messaging. Additionally, political parties often face the challenge of balancing ideology with pragmatism. While sticking to core principles is important, they also need to be flexible enough to form alliances and make compromises to achieve their goals. Finally, external factors like opposition tactics, media scrutiny, and public opinion can put pressure on parties. Navigating these external challenges requires strong leadership and clear communication. Overall, understanding these challenges helps us see how political parties must constantly evolve and adapt to succeed in the complex world of politics. There is a noticeable trend in many political parties where power tends to become concentrated in the hands of just one or a few leaders at the top. This often means that these leaders hold most of the decision-making authority, leaving little room for broader participation. Additionally, parties typically don't hold internal elections regularly, which can limit transparency and accountability. Ordinary members, who are the backbone of these parties, often don't get enough information about what's happening behind the scenes. This lack of internal democracy can weaken the party's overall health and public trust, and it ties back to the larger theme of how political systems function and how they can be improved. Now, let's talk about a significant issue that can arise in leadership positions. Those who happen to be the leaders often find themselves in a position of unfair advantage. This means they might be tempted to favor people close to them, whether friends or even family members. It's a natural human tendency, but it can create real problems within organizations or communities. This phenomenon is often referred to as dynastic successions. Essentially, power or leadership tends to stay within certain families or close networks, which can undermine fairness and meritocracy. When leadership is passed down based on family ties rather than ability or achievement, it can lead to stagnation and inequality. Connecting this to our overall theme, it highlights how important transparency and fairness are in leadership roles. Without these principles, we risk fostering environments where favoritism overrides competence, ultimately hindering growth and trust. So, recognizing the dangers of dynastic successions is a key step in promoting more equitable and effective leadership. Let's talk about how parties tend to nominate candidates. Typically, they look for those who have or can raise a lot of money. Money plays a crucial role in the political process. Candidates who have significant financial resources often have a better chance of winning because they can fund campaigns, advertising, and outreach efforts. In some cases, parties even support candidates with questionable backgrounds, including criminals. This highlights how the influence of money and power can sometimes overshadow ethical considerations in the political arena. This ties into the overall theme of how financial and muscle power can shape political outcomes. It shows that a candidate's ability to raise funds and access resources can be just as important as their policies or integrity. In order to offer meaningful choices to voters, parties must be significantly different. When parties are too similar, voters don't really have a genuine choice. They might feel like their vote doesn't matter because the options are essentially the same. That's what we mean by a lack of meaningful choices. If the options are indistinguishable, the whole democratic process loses its vibrancy and purpose. For democracy to work effectively, voters need to see clear differences between parties, different policies, different visions, so they can pick the one that best aligns with their values. This idea ties into the overall theme that healthy democracies depend on diverse, distinct options, giving voters real power to shape their government. Let's talk about some important reforms in political parties. First, a law should be made to regulate the internal affairs of political parties. This helps ensure transparency and accountability within parties themselves. Next, the Election Commission has taken steps by issuing an order that requires political parties to hold their organizational elections regularly and also to file their income tax returns. These measures promote fairness and financial transparency. Additionally, the Supreme Court has played a crucial role by passing an order to reduce the influence of money and criminals in elections. Now, it is mandatory for every candidate contesting an election to file affidavits. These affidavits must include details about their property and any criminal cases pending against them. This makes candidates more accountable and helps voters make informed decisions. Another important reform was the constitutional amendment aimed at preventing elected members from changing parties. Before this amendment, many representatives would switch parties, often to become ministers or for cash rewards, which led to instability and unfair practices. All these steps are part of the broader effort to reform political parties and make the electoral process more transparent, honest, and fair, which ultimately strengthens our democracy. Now, moving on to a crucial aspect of ensuring fair and inclusive elections. There should be state funding of elections. This means that the government should provide financial support to political parties to help cover their election expenses. Such funding can level the playing field, especially for smaller or newer parties that might struggle with costs. Additionally, it's important to make it mandatory for political parties to allocate a minimum number of tickets to women candidates. I suggest about 1/3 of the tickets should go to women. This is a significant step toward increasing gender representation in politics and making our democratic process more inclusive. By combining fair funding with a commitment to gender diversity, we can work toward a more equitable electoral system that truly represents all sections of society. These measures align with the broader goal of strengthening democracy and ensuring equal opportunities for everyone to participate in political life.